Welcome to Recipe to Success, the show where we sit down with entrepreneurs from all different backgrounds to learn more about their journey to success. My name is Humza Zahoor, CEO and founder of Social Awaken. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to another episode of Recipe to Success. Today I'm really excited because this is someone I've wanted to get on the show for a really long time, someone I've actually looked up to for a long time too, and I'm really excited to learn more from the man himself. Azam, how you doing?
A pleasure to be here, bro. I'm very well, thank you. To be honest, I avoided doing this on the video because I wanted to see you in person. So here we are. But yeah, I'm great, thank you.
Yeah, just for those listening, wondering, the idea was during COVID we were going to do it like on live stream, but Azam was like, no, let's do it properly. Let's wait a couple of months. Let's get it, let this blow over and let's do it properly. And honestly, I think it's actually worked out for the best because we get to actually sit down and go through everything.
100%. So there's a different energy.
Yeah, exactly. So with Azam, anyone that doesn't know, he's got not only a story, but he's dedicated his life to business, but also giving back. So this is literally the perfect guy to be on the show. So Azam, how has COVID been during the whole lockdown, business-wise and everything else? How are you doing? How's your family?
Amazing. So, it's been an absolute blessing. Look, my approach to life is trying to find the opportunity in every situation. I truly believe that every time something happens, it's directing us to somewhere we're supposed to go. And it's looking for the positives, right? So if we can kind of focus on what we can do something about, as opposed to, oh no, this has happened, that's happened. I wish, I wish it was this, and I was expecting to open this, and I was expecting to do that, and whatever. So I really saw the opportunity to zone in on myself, because life's so busy. I've been in business for 20 odd years, and even when you want to take some downtime, being in business is like being in a boxing match, right? So you get punched in the head a couple of times during the day, and even by the time you get home and you want to rest, your head's still ringing. So you kind of don't get that real downtime. So through this, I've really had the opportunity to kind of zone in and just reflect and dig a little bit deeper. I've done some studying. I've spent quality time with the family, and I've really thought about what should I be doing, because life's going so fast all the time, but we don't spend enough time alone, and I actually consciously do, but we don't spend enough time alone. So having that additional time alone, where actually nobody could really bug me or disturb me, because a key thing that's that is a very relevant point about COVID is that we don't understand the energy that we take in from the people that we have around us. So even when you're out and about all day, you interact with different people, and you have different types of conversations. Some of them can be good, some of them can be bad. So it's really important to ensure that you get that time alone, so that you're aware of kind of your own thoughts and your own mission. And so just being forced to kind of not have to interact with people, which is not nice. We want to interact with people, we're human, etc. But there's a time where it's probably good for you. So I've just tried to max it out. And I've really zoned in. I feel like I'm coming out the other side more focused, clearer pattern of what I need to do, where I need to go, tied up some loose ends. So yeah, I'm grateful. I feel amazing.
And even more so, I'm guessing alone time must have been extremely important for you, because your life is like beyond hectic. Like normal people live busy lives, but for those of you who don't know, serial entrepreneur, the definition came from Azam. He's a serial entrepreneur, an investor, the list goes on. So let's get into it. For anyone that hasn't seen you before, who is Azam? What do you do?
Okay, so I mean, look, ultimately, who am I? If you were to define me as a person, I'm someone that genuinely has an interest in other people. I genuinely care about people, and I'm curious about what people want, what people need, and that will be reflected in my personal life, and it'll be reflected in my business life. So, early on in my career, I'd just say for a very early part, I was passionate about getting in business, for the purpose of monetary gain. So, everybody thinks about money. But very quickly, when I first started out in the property business when I was about 19, 20 years old, and then very quickly I realized that there's even value that I can add in this space. So when I progressed in that industry, I started building homes for first-time buyers, and what you'd find in first-time buyer homes was that they were very standard, magnolia walls, standard kitchen, bathroom, whatever. So we'd kind of go a little bit extra for those kind of first-time buyers and give them a home that we give them a bit of we could do that because we weren't at the scale of a Barrett's home or whatever. So basically started doing property, and then while I was buying building products for my sites, I'd found there was an issue with the way you bought building products online. There wasn't a lot of transparency. It wasn't easy to order. You didn't know when you were getting your stock, whatever.
Sorry, pause one second, yeah, because this is an episode that's going to be I'm just going to be listening. So wow. I won't interrupt much. But Just go back a little bit.
Sure.
How did you actually get into property at the age of 19? Because that's an achievement in itself, right?
Yeah. So I mean, look, it's a very different ball game altogether than what it is now, and the area. So I'm from a town called Doncaster. So we could buy houses for like 10 grand, 12 grand. So, you know, prior to that, I'd saved up a bit of money. I was doing different things, buying and selling. You know, even when I passed my driving test, I didn't go and buy a fancy car. I went and bought a van. It was actually an ex-postman Pat van. You could still see the Royal Mail signage, even though it had been, you know, took off. And I used to go out and do deliveries for people. You know, I just always had that passion, you know, to do stuff. So the barriers to entry into property at that time were not that high. And it wasn't very hard. You know, it wasn't about me being, you know, super smart or anything. Literally, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. So, you know, I was buying properties and they were doubling in value just because the market was booming. So that's how I ended up in the property space. And the same thing is applicable now, by the way. With a small amount of money, you can launch an e-commerce business and turn it into a multi-million-pound business. I've done it myself. So, you know, there are always opportunities. Markets change, you know, things change and new doors and new opportunities open up. So, you know, from property, I then moved into e-commerce. I discovered this world of e-commerce, and then through that process, I learned about e-commerce, learned about everything from SEO, online marketing, paid ads, you know, branding, you know, how an online store works, how fulfillment works, etc. And built other e-commerce businesses in that process. Started taking an interest in business, in companies, in how companies work, what they do, what value they create for people. I started investing then in companies that I found interesting, that I resonated with, that I understood, and then just carried on, man, to the point where now, you know, I will do anything from come up with an opportunity that I see, you know, to improve people's lives, whether it's something like Graftism, creating an enhanced experience in the gyms, bringing people together, building community, you know, adding value where people not only get a place to train, but they get a place to bond with others. It's great for not just your physical health, but your mental health, you know, and always identifying where I'm at now. So, you know, where you talk about hectic life, I'm actually trying more and more to manage my life, and understand that I can't be, you know, Rambo out in the jungle by myself. I've got to work with key people now. And if I want to grow and I want to be involved in adding more value and creating more opportunity, then I've got to find people that I can work with, people that I can also learn from as well. So, you know, the whole weight shouldn't be on me. So I'm more of a managing things now, as opposed to where I used to be, like deep in the trenches, from the forklift to the, you know, to whatever. So that's an overall.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I've noticed about you is that even like online and social media and stuff like that, you're always showing people that no matter how seasoned you are as an entrepreneur and how many businesses you've had, because honestly guys, his portfolio, he can't even speak about his full portfolio, like it's so long, so many businesses, and successful businesses too, but over time, like, you see that a lot of people, they get a bit arrogant, you know, they feel like, okay, I'm too good at this, right? But you always make it clear that you're just always learning. And whilst you want to pass that knowledge on to others, you're never like stagnant yourself. Like, I know during lockdown you were spending a lot of time reading and brushing up on things and looking at the stock market and always that. So like, is that something that's always been the case, where you just always want to be the best and just always learn?
Yeah, man. I mean, look, it's probably become more and more so as I've become older. So I think, you know, you may see a pattern where people become maybe self-absorbed, or maybe they think they've made it, or they become arrogant or whatever about, you know, their achievements. You know, I've always been someone that's grateful. And the reason I carry on like this, bro, is because of two things. One is I am, you know, I maintain and try to enhance my connection with God. And the more you stay connected with God, the more you discover potential. And the more you recognize, like, he's created this ocean. You know, when you read up about things like, you know, humans use 1/8 of their brain, we have this exponential capacity. So you become eager. You see, what gratitude does, and, you know, you read all these quotes and you know, it's great, you know, you get hyped for a minute, but gratitude is something that the more and more you try to appreciate what you have, and the more and more you look for things to be positive about and happy about, it just leads you down this path where you discover more and more and more. And so this is kind of what my life is. You know, I always know there's more. It's not that I want more. It's not that I need to be more. It's not that I need any type of recognition or whatever. It's just that knowing that there's this endless potential to humans. Like, we till the day we die, no matter how much we push ourselves, we'll never reach our capacity. We could have always learnt more, experienced more, seen more, done more, helped more, whatever. So, you know, I in all honesty find that the times when I haven't been happy, or I haven't been myself, or felt myself, or felt great, is when I haven't been appreciating what I've got and making the most of it. That could be your health. You know, as an example, you eat rubbish, you don't exercise, you don't sleep, you don't whatever, and you don't feel great. You know, it's the same application to life. You know, the minute you let go of your personal development, your spiritual development, your physical development, you know, and keeping things moving, you sink. So ultimately, it's gratitude for the life I've got. How long do we have, man? No one knows that. You know, we're guaranteed death. That's the only thing that's guaranteed. So for me, it's like if this is my last day, let me smash it.
Wow, I'm literally like, I don't even know what to say in this podcast, because I'm just like literally learning myself. But so obviously over the years, you know, you've gone through all these transitions, as you mentioned, and leading up to the point where you are now, where obviously you've got active investments in multiple things, but I'm guessing your main priority is Graftism. Is that correct?
So yeah, you're absolutely right. Even though Graftism is ultimately in its infancy at the moment. So, but if I was to be, you know, open with you, the next big project for me is Graftism. The reason for that is Graftism isn't actually just a gym concept. It is an ideology. So I had this dream that if I was ever able to, you know, put myself in a position to create a brand that could have a really positive social impact. So where we're in a society right now where it's all about instant gratification, it's all about I've got it now, I've achieved it now, you know, and creating that, you know, facade that I'm eating this restaurant, I'm holidaying here, I've got this, I've got that, whatever. You know, the actual buzz in life is the process itself. You go and study any of the top performers in the world, and they'll tell you that the process of getting to where they were going to was where the excitement and the buzz was. Once they get there, they want to start again.
A little bit, yeah.
They want to start again. You know, they may not necessarily be disappointed, but that's it. It's gone. Mm-hmm. The fire in us is doing, right? It's grafting. It's working. That's where the actual buzz comes, and the adrenaline and the purpose comes from. Because let me tell you, like, when you go out and buy a Ferrari, the purpose was achieving the Ferrari. So the time you spent, every moment you spent with that purpose firing you up was what made you feel alive. Once you get the Ferrari, you've achieved the purpose. That fire, it's no longer there. You've got to now try and find a new fire. You've got to try and find a new purpose.
And some people don't, right? Like some people, they never find that passion again.
They don't. And so, like, if you take Elon Musk as a great example, you know, the guy basically sold PayPal for $150 million, dumped it straight back into Tesla and SpaceX. You know, this is a story that's repeated and repeated and repeated, because you've got to have that purpose. You want to, you know, people that are about bringing value, about enhancing, you know, people's lives, changing the world. They just can't stop. So, you know, that's what it's all about. It's about understanding your, you know, ultimately, you know, that your process is where it's all at. And so for me, Graftism is an ideology that we champion the process, right? So rather than you telling me how amazing everything is, just tell me how hard you're working and what goals you're working towards, and let me salute you for that. And let's create more of an environment for young people to prosper in, where we encourage each other for the effort, because not everything works out. I've failed loads of times. I've just got it right, good enough to stay alive, right? So, but ultimately I've probably failed more. So, you know, the reality is that it's championing that process. So the key things for us as human beings, bro, we need to have like companionship. We need to have good, positive mental health, physical health. So Graftism is that ideology of living a life that is focused on the process of working hard for what you want. And even hard work in itself brings out really great qualities within a human being. So if you take two individuals, that one's a hard worker and one isn't, typically you'll find that the hard worker, who's a hard worker in a genuine way, you know, he's a good guy, he's a good person, she's a good person, whatever, they'll have a lot more positive qualities and attributes in their character than a lazy person who'd rather not work, right? And so, yeah, Graftism, the vision for the brand is, you know, let's see where COVID goes, but is to create the number one experience, community-centric based gyms around the world. So the last brand to have anything like that in the weightlifting, bodybuilding type space was Gold's Gym, back in the Arnold Schwarzenegger days in the 70s, Venice Beach. but also to create more of a kind of a global community that supports one another. And we're going to do a lot more work around kind of mental health and other areas, which, for example, like when you see a hench guy, right?
Like you.
You typically don't consider him to have any potential mental health issues or any worries, or you expect him to deal with it because you're a masculine hench guy. And these are barriers we need to break down, because ultimately a lot of the big issues that exist are in men, right? And young men, between the ages of 18, 40, I don't know the exact statistics off the top of my head, but so the ideology behind Graftism is to promote positive behavior, positive mindset, and use that vehicle where we're now in this society where you have this opportunity where you're getting people together under one roof to interact with each other, but then you've got social media and the digital world that allows you to promote a message further afield, and so the underlying purpose of the brand is to create something that promotes positive, because I feel a lot of brands, and especially in the fitness space, still promote a lot of perfectionism. It's very hard to kind of keep up to that standard. I look at some people and go, wow, like, geez, like I definitely ain't ever gonna look like that, so it's trying to counter some of these things. I'm working on a book, so Graftism
really?
so the book's called Graftism, so it's hard to explain in a very short period of time, but without me taking up the whole podcast, but it's way beyond just gyms and just fitness. That's one element.
It's a lifestyle, essentially.
Yeah, it's one element of the hard work we put into ourselves. It's an ideology. It's it's one area of the hard work that we need to put into ourselves, but there's other areas, that we put into, and that's one of the things that you'll find with Graftism is that we have an amazing community. People that come there, they benefit from it, not just physically but mentally. They develop friendships. It's a sanctuary for a lot of people. People just come there to get away from whatever stresses they're dealing with day to day. And I've been told this over and over again. So if I can create, look, some of the gyms you go to, people have got the headphones on, everyone's minding their own business, no one's interacting. How amazing would it be if you had hundreds of gyms around the world where thousands, tens of thousands of people had a better quality of life, better mental, physical, emotional health, because of these facilities that you created that went beyond just a place for you to go and train, or in some gym model cases, it's just numbers, right? So it's a case of, we know you won't cancel your membership, we're charging you a low figure. We don't expect you to use the gym. Do you know what I mean? It's a completely different. It's a completely different thing for us. It's about serving people and improving people's lives overall.
Mm-hmm. So you obviously mentioned a lot about mental health, and I'm guessing that's something that's quite close to your heart because of obviously Graftism itself. How will the gyms being closed for this long have affected mental health? And from a gym owner himself, what's the future of gyms?
Yeah, so number one, it will definitely have. I mean, I know for a fact that even just for anyone, getting out, getting your physical exercise, getting in the gym, even if you don't really have friends at the gym, that you just see other people, just seeing other human beings maybe just helps. In our case, I'm 100% positive that people really depend heavily on the relationships they have in that gym. People that are not necessarily even their friends, but they're just somehow gym family. There's just this thing that happens, right? So, I know for a fact that is something that will have affected people, and it's very necessary, it's very important. As I mentioned, it's not just physical. The other side of it with the gym industry, it's very hard to tell. It's very hard to tell right now what will happen, because ultimately if there are limitations and restrictions, that will affect any business model. Look, most businesses out there are failing anyway. Mm-hmm. If you tell a business that, right, you're going from 100% capacity, 100% footfall, 100% revenue, to 20%, 30%, 50%, whatever, it's going to be tough. So I think there's a couple of key things. One is that, are they going to open up gyms and put limitations and restrictions in the gym? The second thing is, will they shut down again? We're already seeing talks about, second lockdowns and things like that, and localized lockdowns, etc. So until COVID fixes itself, it's going to be difficult. The one thing I will say is there will probably be other types of gyms that will be impacted more so, where people have maybe shifted to training online, or this boom on online training, whatever. But what Graftism offers, while humans live, there'll always be a need for it, because there will always be that group of people. And when I say that group of people, since I was 15 years old, I trained in bodybuilding style gyms, and I've hopped around and trained in different types. and there is just a sense of community that exists in those gyms. There is a sense of
Brotherhood,
belonging and need.
yeah.
It's a need to be in that kind of environment. And there are just certain human beings that are wired that way. It's just as simple as that. There are people who are introverts, extroverts. There are people who love to be around other people. There are people who, whatever, you know. So I think, you know, as long as humans exist, there's going to be a need for that type of facility where people get together and they just do more than exercise, you know. So, and they feel more. And actually, you're not going to get rid of social media. Look, social media is a huge part in Graftism's business model, because we are essentially providing people with an opportunity to take, you know, videos, make the content they want to make, and a lot of gyms don't allow that, or they don't cater for it. They're not aesthetically pleasing or whatever. Either they just don't allow it full stop, or they don't cater for that. So these are the kind of human needs that we cater for. It goes all the way from actually physically being fit and, you know, having friendships and relationships, to doing what you want to do on social media, whether it's for your business. And you know, again, a lot of people now are in this industry and in this space. So let's see. I'm hoping, you know, and this isn't from a commercial perspective. It doesn't, you know, it hasn't had a profound impact on me. But ultimately, it's more about the service that we provide. You know, it's not a monetary concern or a financial thing. It's the fact that we're there to serve people, and they need it.
So do you think that once everything goes back to normal, there is this huge opportunity for a new kind of division of entrepreneurs? Because from what I kind of see over time is, you, like, as a person, you are like the ideal kind of entrepreneur, because you give back, but you also work hard, and you've done it in multiple different cases. But my fear is that a lot of young people, they, like you said, they look at social media and they're trying to sell a lifestyle to themselves, and I think now a lot of people, because of COVID, they've kind of realized, okay, our life can't really be shown how we want it to be perceived anyway. So do you think that right now there's a huge opportunity for entrepreneurs? Because this is something that I was trying to communicate to people on social media, is that don't use lockdown as a chance to like just feel down and things like that. Obviously it's going to affect everyone in different ways, but try to be creative, try to think outside the box, try to utilize this time, because not only is it lockdown in the fact that of COVID, but economists are saying that we might be on the verge of a recession, a depression, and there's always opportunity in that. And you've traded in multiple different markets as well. So do you think that there's going to be a whole new wave of entrepreneurs, and what's your advice on people that are thinking of starting a business now?
Sure. So look, I mean, absolutely. Every time a recession comes, there's opportunity, because things change. And so in times of change, there's...
Let's talk about that, sorry, a little bit, because when I say that to people, and when people when that topic comes up about recession brings opportunity, I think people don't really understand how or why. And I think it would be good to hear it from you. So sure. Why is that? Why
okay, so let me give you one scenario of an opportunity that may appear in a recession. A very logical, practical opportunity. You're a large business. You're running the business, not necessarily in the best way, not necessarily efficiently, but you've been able to survive because it's been just a boom season, right? And everyone's just been rolling and enjoying. All of a sudden, dynamics change, and you can't sustain your business anymore. Now, you were servicing customers in a multitude of different areas, but your business goes under. But there was a service or a product that you were providing, right? And there may have been more efficient and more effective ways to run that business, to provide that product, to operate, you know, from a logistical perspective, from a distribution perspective, taking it from physical to online, whatever. But all those businesses that collapse, there will be scenarios. Some maybe there's just no longer any demand for that type of thing. It's very rare though. I don't know many products apart from VCRs and things like that where there's, you know, it's that dramatic where there's no more demand for it, right? I.e. you have a food establishment, and we'll go there in a second, but the long and short of it is there'll be those opportunities where larger companies that can't sustain their entire operation have now gone under and left a whole bunch of customers with a whole load of needs that you can potentially service with a more efficient and well-managed business without as much operational cost, without the requirement as many, because that's why most businesses go under, right? They don't have the money. Yeah. So that's one area. The other area is changing trends. So if you take changing trends as an example, it's identifying people's requirements and needs. So again, we can go on about this as a whole podcast, a whole series in itself, but okay, people are at home now, right? So people have been told you must stay at home. Takeaways have been allowed to stay open, right? So anybody would then, or restaurants or anybody would then have to pivot and change their business model to say, what can we produce at what cost that we think will be appealing and in demand for people at home? And we shift and pivot our business to supplying at home. You then look at other possibilities. And what I mean by this is, let's say without COVID, you would then say, okay, well, something's changed in terms of people's price point requirement or people's dietary requirements or whatever, whether vegans now become big or like plant-based is big or whatever. So you then, again, take the initiative to understand what people really want. And I try to give it as practical advice as I can. So people look around and they're just looking for the answer. People are messaging me, what's the next stock to invest in? Look, I can't tell you what the next stock to invest in because, I've already invested in that stock 5 years ago, right? So what I'm looking at now, there's nothing to invest in at this present moment because we don't know where exactly things are going to go. So yes, if you want to just sort of jump in, wing it, buy when everything went down during COVID and then let it go up for a bit and think you've made a load of money and then it goes even further down, whatever. So for me, if I was, let's say for example, in a scenario with a business like this, I would want to know what the local community that I'm serving around me really wants. I'd invest the time in surveys. I wouldn't sit there going, oh, let me do, it's not about me. And this is the biggest mistake young entrepreneurs make. They make it about themselves or they're motivated by the wrong things. I want a Rolex, I want to eat in, I want to do, whatever. Bro, I drove a banger around. I made £250,000 in my first year in business. I was 20 years old. I was driving a Peugeot that my uncle opened the bonnet once because it wasn't working and it was two cars welded together, right? Image is something that should first and foremost be a priority within yourself. Your image of yourself, right? And the more you focus on your own image of yourself, the more you'll achieve, right? The more you're focused on your image and what others have, an image that others have of you, you're in big problems, mate. So what we do is when we're looking for business opportunities, man, we're looking everywhere else. Rather than looking within, because the first step is looking within and understanding what do you know? What are your passions? What are you interested in? So just as an example, because people have been asking me, so maybe when you play this, they'll get the answer. When you invest in a company, stocks, no rocket science, no get rich quick scheme, no forex up, down, left, right, whatever. It's literally a question of know what you know. You may be in medicine, you may be in retail, you may be into tech. Find out about the companies that you're interested in and do your due diligence on what their valuation is, or if they're a new company and they're IPOing and you think, right, these are going to be the next big thing, I'm very interested. As an example, you might be in e-commerce. You might have been in e-commerce 3, 4, 5 years ago when Shopify came about and IPO'd, and then you might have been like, well, actually, we think Shopify is amazing. I'm going to put some money into that. When Apple came out, wow, these guys are definitely going to be the phone leaders. I use the phone, I use the tech, I think it's great. Boom, put some money in Apple. The same principle applies to Amazon. Same principle applies to to Domino's. Things that we actually consume, things that we understand. There's no like rocket science secret formula, get your buddy to tell you. You've got to know about yourself and you've got to know about the things yourself. So even when it comes to a business, I would be looking, if I was a food provider in a local area, I would go and do surveys. I would run surveys, whether it's physical surveys, whether it's online surveys, and find out what the demand is and find, wait a minute, there's 1,000 people here that want plant-based burgers, but no one's doing them. Jeez, because that's what you're in business to do. You're in business to serve other people. The problem is people's mindset is, I'm in business to serve me. I want money. That'll last a short while, maybe. Most likely won't, right? So it's what can we do for other people? How are people's lives changing? What do people want? What do people need, right? And so again, even when it comes to, product type, you've got changing trends like Amazon becoming the new place to be. You can very quickly and effectively launch product on Amazon, right? So there are all these areas where you may find out, well, people are buying these sort of things. I need to get in front of my customers quick. I've got this new solution for washing your hands or whatever it might be, and let me get that on there. The two major things for me to advise young entrepreneurs, particularly in this time, is first and foremost, identify what your strengths are. The image you have of yourself. What am I good at? What do I know? What's my area of expertise? What gets me buzzing, right? I'll just give you a prime example. I've been in property for 20 odd years, right? It bores me, right? It's the most boring business ever, yeah? So I don't get hyped up about property. You know, when anyone tells me we bought some property recently, and I just don't get excited. Like, I just don't get a buzz out of it, but it's just something we do. And so you just carry on. So the long and short of it is you've got to know about yourself, and you've got to know where you're good. And then you've understand how you can apply that to giving value to other people, right? And that's all it boils down to. So when it comes to effectively finding a business, what's going on right now? How is business changing? What do companies need? What do individuals need? What is this changing environment, requiring? If I was in the food business, I would have doubled down on online delivery. I would have doubled down on creating experience online. Just as an example, I'll give you something. I'm not in the food space, but I'll just give you a scenario. I would have actually created additional experience for people online. So do you know what I would have done? I would have invested in kits or something of that type that was super Instagrammable, that people, when they received their meal at home, because they're not going anywhere else, that could have created either some sort of in-home dining experience as if they've gone out and had that food, or alternatively create something that gave somebody some sort of entertainment or something that they wanted to share. So you literally had everyone dying to post this thing, because we're locked in. We've only got a limited number of options. So it's that was one way to grow your business, but also provide people with what they want. There's these sort of things, and I can go on about this forever. So look, opportunities are always there, right? Look, as you move up the supply chain, it's simple. All the guys sat on a load of cash right now are waiting. Biggest boy in that game is Warren Buffett, right? The guy's got 130 billion on the sideline waiting, right? So what will happen is, in the recession, on the other end of the spectrum, is people will be waiting for opportunities to open up, to buy low. The simple principle of business, bro, is you buy low, you sell high, right? That's it. So at all levels, there'll be opportunities. There'll be opportunities at the bottom where there's something to catch on to, or there's a changing trend, or there's an opportunity for you to market and sell something, like I said, where you have an ability to innovate. Look, there's a lot of dated industries. Newstone's one. A business that I made millions out of was an industry I should never have stepped into. A little brown boy should never have stepped into an industry that was dominated by stone merchants, quarry owners in that era. I remember when I started going around trying to sell stuff to these people, and it was like, who's this kid, right? So the long and short of it is you've got to have that ability to understand and believe in what you're offering. I knew that it was dated. I knew that the way that people were selling product was not transparent. It wasn't easy. It was inefficient. I could allow builders, contractors, homeowners to place their orders online in the evening, not detach themselves from the job, make it quick, make it easy. They know an exact price, they know what they're getting. I used to ring up and go, mate, I need some paving for this project. Yeah, it's £12 a square yard. Hour later, hello mate, yeah, you gave me that price, £15 a square yard. I'd be like, what? So he said, just took note. It's 15 now. We've only got so many boxes left. Do you understand my point? Wow. So that's how it used to be. So the long and short of it is there's opportunity, endless opportunity, but the key thing is your priority on serving people, because that is what a business is about. Profit is a byproduct of a service, of doing something, of giving value, right? So again, any industry that you roll into because you see the next guy making money from it, there may be an opportunity. But again, like, look, there's very rarely any business you're going to go into where you're the first to market, or look, Apple and Samsung, biggest companies in the world, are at each other for copying each other, whatever. The key point within all of this is that can you do something better? Can you do it more efficiently? Can you provide a better service? Can you provide better experience? We're an experience-centric society, so an experience economy, right? This is what the economy we're in right now. So every one of your businesses, and again, this is for young entrepreneurs. I talk to my kids, so I get information from them because they consume YouTube. I don't. Look, let me tell you what a discovery I made recently. So I play a bit of Fortnite with my boy, right? And one day I walked in and there's someone killing it on the screen. I'm like, wow, Zain, you're killing it. And he was watching a YouTuber, and I was baffled. I was like, mate, we would have never given anyone. We used to fight over the controller. These kids are happy to sit and watch people play. They've got a game themselves, but they're happy. That's how things have changed. So you have this competitive advantage. As youngsters, you're wired differently. You've grown up in a different environment. You've grown up with these devices in your hands. You know things that the generation prior to you are not as up to speed with. You've got an advantage. You've got a communication advantage. You've got a technological advantage. You've got a vision, opportunity advantage. So, there's loads. So I've tried to
summarize,
cover it and summarize it as much as I can.
And something you mentioned was opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Like in the sense where the generation now, obviously the opportunities are almost more because of social media, online marketing. Obviously, it's different as well. There was more opportunities in different ways in the past, but right now there's huge opportunities in different ways, and
there's loads more opportunities now, bro. Loads more. Yeah.
From you, I'm sure I can.
And I'll tell you why. So basically, let me ask you a question. Yeah, I'll ask you a question.
Okay.
Now. How fast has the world changed in the last 10 years in comparison to the last 100 years? Drastically, bro. There's been change that has happened in years that hasn't, the same equivalent, scale of change has not happened for decades. Mm-hmm. So business in years gone was simple. Buy a property, right? Now people are pulling money out of property in Central because they're getting 3% return, not even getting that or whatever. So the key point is that business has evolved rapidly and technology is changing things rapidly. Change equals opportunity, bro. So the opportunities are popping up now, left, right, and center. Mm-hmm. And that includes, by the way, when people are like, I really disagree with this mindset of jumping on Forex and all the rest of it, because even those people that are very good at Forex type trading, they understand technical analysis, they understand price action, they've been in that business for 20 years, they're submerged the same way a brain surgeon knows what he's doing. Most people go in, they think it's quick money. Oh, we put a tenner in, we get £20 out. Wow, this is brilliant, right? You don't. You put £10 in, you end up losing 20. But the point is that with any type of opportunity, it's evolving, right? So even once upon a time where getting involved in the stock market was expensive, it was limited. We're now in a place where you can make stock purchases for free from your app, boom, there and then. So opportunities out there, man. It's huge, and everything's just boom, 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 changing. So it's mindset, bro. It's mindset. Anyone that turns around to me and tells me, oh, it was easier in that time, property was cheaper in that time. Look, in that time, there weren't the Amazons. You could have made the Amazon, right? Do you get my point? So there was standardized business. There wasn't, let me tell you this now, the opportunity when those lot were around to just put their money into a shop or into a property or whatever, the same money what you can put into an e-commerce business and scale and sell to customers worldwide, while as a person who bought the shop next door or the restaurant or the takeaway could serve the people in his local area, and not even serve to the extent that you can now on Deliveroo and Uber Eats and wherever else, right? Not even get that kind of exposure or whatever. So no excuses. It is the time of opportunity. Look for it. There are so many emerging markets, SaaS businesses, e-commerce, digital, virtual, AI. It's ongoing. So no excuses.
Now, whilst that's true, there's huge opportunity, and I completely agree with that. But there was something that you touched upon, and I think it would be extremely valuable to everyone listening to hear your opinion on it as well. Is you often see, I'm sure you've seen it, you see ads pop up left, right, center. Pay for my course, I'll teach you how to be a Forex trader, I'll teach you how to start a Shopify store, all of this kind of stuff. And in fact, it's ironic because someone like you that actually has all these skills of business, it's someone like you that should really be doing something like that, right? But it's often someone you've never heard of, you just see an ad and they constantly retarget you, and eventually they make a lot of money out of it. And whilst I have never personally taken one of those courses, so I can't really completely comment on it, I know maybe they have good intentions, potentially, and some people maybe do make money out of it, but there's a lot of people that get burnt out of it. So for anyone that's potentially thinking about taking one of these online courses for Shopify, $1,000 courses for Forex, what's your opinion on that?
Okay, so there's a couple of very important things. One is credibility. Look, I'll keep it real and raw, right? If you want to make excuses and you don't really want to do anything, then you'll read as many books as you want and you'll take as many courses as you want because you just don't want to take action, right? And that's the problem with all this consumption of books and motivation, all the rest of it. Like, you need to take action. So it's a market that is predominantly fueled Forex courses, e-commerce courses, Amazon FBA courses, every other flipping drop shipping courses. I've seen them all, right? They are targeting people that don't really want to do anything. I'm being blunt. The people that want to do stuff will know two things. One is that the information is all available. You just need to put in the time and effort to look for it and search for it, right? And that is the issue. Are you willing to do that or not? right? Because you think there's going to be some sort of quick, rich solution that some guy's going to give you. The second thing is the willingness to get in and just try, right? It's the best way you learn, through experience. Bro, anyone can set up a Shopify store. We can go online right now and start a Shopify store, right? And find something we want to sell and start trying to sell it, right? Sell these tables. Yeah. So the point is that that's the issue. Now, people understand human psychology and human behavior. So they know that they'll prey on those people because they want to get rich quick, or they feel there's going to be some way to shortcut the system or whatever. And some people will sell those systems. I have no problem with people with genuine experience and expertise, and this is my point. So I'll give you an example. You were going to sell me a course, so I would ask you to show me the credentials. Can I see your business? Can I see your sales? Can I see your background? Can I see, what you've done? Oh, you generate 10 million a year in sales. Okay, I'll take a course from you. But I'm just a little bit confused. Why are you wasting your time selling courses? Right?
Because the revenue stream.
Because I'll tell you this now, because believe me, let me tell you this now, taking your eye off the prize, if you're able to generate 5, 10, 15, 20 million in revenue in e-commerce, you can not only, if you feel that you've hit a ceiling, or you've got to go heavy on further investment or resources or whatever to scale that business further, or you've kind of felt you've capped it, market share, whatever, you'll take that knowledge and you'll roll out another business. It's not rocket science. I can roll out e-commerce businesses, probably not in my sleep. I don't want to say something extreme as that, but because you have the formula. The only reason I would see people, or the value I see in people sharing knowledge, and as much of that as you can share for free is great, and what you should do, but charging for it is when there are people who genuinely are coming to you for expertise and advice that they just need to have their skin in the game, and you can't do it for free. Yeah. That's a very high level of coaching and training that you would get from someone. The entry level FBA, Shopify, everything's free. You could literally learn it all for free. And the reason being is I've watched half this stuff myself. So I know that the resources are free. Most of these outfits provide the free resources themselves. So what would I say about courses, etc.? I would say that for the base level, entry level stuff, you can learn it yourself. The psychology behind it is just trying to shortcut it, bro. It's as simple as that. So you can learn it for yourself. It's become a market. There's a lot of fraud in that market, which is unfortunate. But people want it. Mm-hmm. They know they're not willing to put in the work to do what it'll actually take to get to where they want to go. So they think, we'll shortcut it. It's half the reason why people read books, man. It's a discrepancy between $11 billion worth of self-help books in the US were sold last year. Well, if you spent 11 billion on self-help, I'm sure there's going to be some flipping gurus walking around, and monks and people floating and whatnot, but there doesn't seem to be. So clearly the books aren't, working for everyone. And that's because, look, I finished my life coaching qualification. I did it for myself, to better myself, but the long and short of it is, the first thing they tell you, and they reiterate this throughout the course, you cannot help someone that doesn't want to better themselves, that doesn't have that desire to change more than, the desire to change isn't more than, being happy to be where they are right now. So they have to have that fire. Don't waste a minute on trying to pump someone and motivate someone and drive someone that doesn't have it. You can put a little bit of push behind, NOS, Fast and the Furious NOS, but that car's got to have an engine and got to be able to go itself, right? So that's the key thing. So what I would recommend to everybody out there is, look, I found one of the most key things to being successful, and I'm not suggesting that I am, but I'm saying the key things to success is
by the way.
The key things to success, bro, is you've got to spend time alone, and you've got to be able to be in control of your own life. Once you're in control of your own life and you're grateful for the things that you have and that you are, you'll start to find more power and more potential and more opportunity, and you're not going to be clouded and you're not going to be influenced. It's the issue with social media. By the way, when I use social media, I post. I don't scroll too much. The other day I scrolled on the Explorer page for a second and I was just absolutely baffled. I was like, I don't know what's going on here. What are people doing? You go to TikTok, that's even crazier. But the key point is that you've got to be able to spend time alone so that you're in charge of your dreams. You're in charge of your vision. You're in charge of your path. Because the more time you spend around other people, they'll sidetrack you. The more time you spend around other people, you're influenced by other people. You're You benchmark your standards based on what other people think is the thing to do, right? And you can't care about this image and this fitting in. That's how you'll get it done. Everybody that can just zone out, focus on what they need to do. You're not looking for validation. You're not looking for a pat on the back. You don't need everyone to tell you, oh, you're the man, you're the girl, you're whatever. Just crack on and do your thing. Be you, focus on you. And you'll find that happiness. Look, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been to a country where there's poverty?
Of course.
Have you seen people smiling?
Yeah.
With stuff, and you're like, wow, this guy's smiling.
How can they be happy?
Happy, so happy, right? It's proof in the pudding. And then, do you know celebrities that kill themselves have got everything in the world? So, look, man, happiness, success it exists within ourselves, right? And you are here to provide service in the world of business. So for entrepreneurs, the minute you get it into your head that you are a service provider, you serve people, and that's what your business or whatever entrepreneurship journey you want to get on. And the reason the most successful entrepreneurs I know that are either two types, either one, they're great innovators and technology people, but it's still service, right? So whatever great business you look at, whether it's Facebook or anything else, servicing, it's providing people with service, that you've just got to adapt that mindset. And the way you adapt that mindset very, very quickly is focusing on spending that time alone, identifying what you're good at and driving that way. The more time you spend influenced by others around you, the more you become concerned about serving them as opposed to serving the people you should be serving, right? Which may not come with any glamour, and it may not come with any frills, and it may not come with any, status or whatever in the air. And you should never be aiming for that anyway. All these things come as byproducts of doing something good. Just do something good, you won't be so bothered about it. So, you've got to be aware of how much, look, if you make a list of your thoughts every day, just be honest with yourself, man. Why do I want a Rolex? For what? Like, that's not my thought. Why do I want to go to that? Why are my shoes? What? And you go through this entire list and you're like, which one of these are actually my thoughts? Which one of these are my dreams? Which one of these are my ambitions? That's the problem with social media and the problem with the type of society we're in when it's not used appropriately, right? Look, social media you can use for a million things. You can build a brand, you can communicate, you can network. Look at it baffles me that the number of hours people are spending on social media, but you're not reaching out to mentors. You're not reaching out to people that have got knowledge, people have got access, people have got information that you need that can help you. You're not building a brand, you're not building a community, you're not focusing on what you should be doing. It's just we want the number of people that just want to be the next Gary Vee or the next this person. Like, why do you want his publicity, you want his attention? We're craving for attention, man. The success comes when you give other people attention. That's the key thing. So if you think about your life every day and say, throughout the day, how often do I think about giving someone else attention and serving someone else and doing something for someone else? And how much of my day is about me? What can I do? What can I post? What angle? What filter? Which restaurant? Which watch? Success is ultimately a byproduct of attending to other people and serving other people, bro. That's all I can say. That's my experience at 40 years of age. If I find out something else, I'll come on podcast 2 and tell you.
It's funny because when I first started this podcast, it was last year, 2019, and the reason why I actually started it was because I'm 24 now, so I was 23 then, and I started to notice that a lot of my peers or people that I used to go to school with and just people that I would interact with, they used to kind of be a little bit different, and they used to think, wow, like he's got businesses and all this kind of stuff. And in my head I was like, I'm just literally starting out. You don't know what's in my bank account, you don't know how hard I'm working 15-hour days or whatever it may be, yet you kind of look up to me. So when people kind of look up to people, I think it's good to be inspired by people, but you don't actually know what their day-to-day is like. You don't know how their mental health is like. You don't know what's going on in their lives. So whilst it's good to look up to people, don't want to be them, basically, in my opinion. And what I would say is two of the mindsets that is very, very continuous in my generation is the get rich quick scheme, like you said, and number 2 is I want to work 5 hours a week and I want to make £1 million. And I try to educate people that for me personally, that doesn't work. I'm sure for you it's the same with the whole graftism. Like
With
it's
anything.
in the word graft, right? Like you have to
Yeah.
do it. You have to put the hours in and make it happen. So for those people that are actually getting, not only buying the courses, but they're buying into this mindset that they can get rich quick. They can actually do it. They can get rich quick in the sense where in a few months they can change their lives. And in some cases it's possible, but for the most it's not, in my opinion. And number two, you don't have to work endlessly and relentlessly. So what's your take on that? Because you've worked in different areas as well, and grown businesses in different areas. What's your recipe to success from that point of view?
So look, I mean, in terms of the work element, I've not found a substitute. You know, there's no substitute for hard work. And I'll just give you an example. We've got two shops next to each other. One guy decides he wants a lifestyle, he wants to do a 5-hour shift. I'm willing to do a 12-hour shift. Who's going to do better? He closed his shop, right? And as much as people like to think about it beyond that, there are very rare instances where someone has some sort of unique skill set, which they've probably spent a lot of additional time working on. And I'll tell you the story. This guy gets called out to this job. He does the job, and he sends the guy a bill. Takes him like 10, 15 minutes to do this job. And the guy gets a $100,000 bill. It's a very specialist work job. It's a very unique job. He's gone out to some oil rig, some, sort of place. And the guy's like, what, man? You came out here for like 10 minutes. He goes, what do you charge, an hour? So he gave him his hourly fee. Let's say it's £1,000. He goes, well, based on £1,000, I should be charging you £100. He goes, no, you're not paying me for the 10 minutes I was on site. You're paying me for the years and years of experience that got me to the place where I can come to your site and fix your problem that would have cost you millions if it wasn't solved within the next 10 minutes, right? You're paying me for my value. You're not paying me for the minutes, for the 10 minutes on site. So, this is something that, the younger generation have to understand that, working hard, and actually, by the way, we're in an era now where we can, our bodies are much more enhanced. We have higher quality food, better understanding of how to optimize our body, how to get the most out of ourselves, what to eat, what not to eat, so on and so forth. We can really push ourselves to limits, and it's just proof in performance. Just go to watch athletes and what they're doing, right? Humans are evolving. So actually we can work harder. Yeah. So anybody that's not willing to put the hard work in and thinks that you're going to run a conventional business, look, you may have some unique business and you may have something that nobody else can get into, and maybe you've still put the work in, or you were lucky enough to get exposed to that industry, or you're some genius in some area. But if you're going to open a conventional business that somebody else can open as well, then you've got to know that whoever's going to put in the hours is definitely going to be having some sort of competitive advantage. Yes, there's an element of working smart, and that's not something you separate from hard work. They go together.
Hand in hand,
you work hard and smart. You don't just work smart. So there's no excuse, bro. And there's a logical way for you to look at it. Unless you've got some unique business, somebody else is going to start that business and they're going to outwork you. And to tell you what they're going to do when they outwork you, they're going to provide a better service to your customers. And I'll give you an example of this. And it's just a very simple way for you to look at it. The guy next door shuts his restaurant. Yours is open. Couple turn up, they wanted to have dinner. Restaurant's shut. Guy only wants to work 5 hours a week, wants to live the life, doesn't he? Wants to show everyone on Instagram that he's balling, right? So the couple then decide that they want to eat. Now they've come out for dinner. So they sit in your restaurant. Now they've had an experience in your restaurant. You've had a chance to get in contact with them. You've built a great rapport with them. You've built a great relationship. They're coming back. They're not going to his restaurant. He's lost the customer. So this is just a very simplified way for you to look at the value of hard work and the value of being available for your customer, available for the business. The business is doing what? Serving the customer. If you're working hard, you're working hard to serve other people. That's the key thing. Whatever you're doing, whatever element of the business you're taking care of, you're in this, whether your emails, whether you're packing, whether you're doing whatever, you're serving your customers, right? And you're providing the best service you can for them. The other question you had, which was obviously the get rich quick mindset and thing, is again, it's people are just, you're being, you're accepting it and you're allowing it to happen. You're just, you kind of really don't want to do the hard work. You like watching it. It's a highlight reel. It's like a bit of TV. Most people that consume on social media, consume motivational material, whatever, don't want to really do anything. They just like to watch it. They like to watch success, but they kind of don't want to do what it takes to get there. So look, I'll tell you this now. Nobody that really is on achieving success and creating value and really feeling that purpose and that buzz you feel when you do something is bothered about a get-rich-quick scheme. So I can't convince someone who doesn't want to do it. There's no advice I can really give other than live the life the way I believe it should be lived. I promote hard work. I believe in hard work. I believe it is the competitive advantage. I believe that you'll kill anyone who's talented if they don't work hard as well, right? Because there's access to information. Barriers of entries to things are very low now. Look, even if you don't have capital, there was once upon a time, bro, where you may have had an idea and you didn't know who to go to. You have access to a phone, and you can contact entrepreneurs, millionaires, billionaires, anywhere in the world at any time. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, DMs, wherever. So even if you're going, we ain't got the money. No, look, I'll tell you this now. So as an example, if I look at investing in a startup and angel investing in a business, I want to know that you've put some skin in the game. I want to know that you've committed. You had a job and you were doing this on the side. You were working. You've maybe put some money of your own in here. You've put your savings in. You've done whatever. Because there's no way I'm going to invest in someone who's waiting for me to put 200 grand in before he gets off his backside and starts doing anything. That ain't going to happen, right? So again, we can go over this and over this and over this, but ultimately, if you want it, you'll be making the moves towards it. And I'll tell you why, because I know this. I know that if you want to know something, the information's there. When someone comes and asks me for the information, the actual information, it's different for someone asking guidance or asking for direction or asking for input on something. When someone comes and asks you black and white, what should I invest in? It doesn't make, it just shows that there's no interest.
You don't think there's a secret.
You don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
No, it just means you don't want to graft, right? You don't want to do anything. You want me to do the job for you, right? It's as simple as that. So, so look, there is no get rich quick schemes. They are schemes, and they get people rich, but not you, right?
Wow.
And that's how it is. It's a get rich quick scheme, but it doesn't make you rich.
Wow, that's a good way to look at it.
And that's the reality of it. That's how it works, right? Most of the people out there that you will find that are sharing and adding value will share it, because they feel that's a responsibility, and they'll share it. I have no problem. There are great coaches out there. There are people who are worth every penny of the money you spend with them and more. But these types of things, again, you just have to vet the people. When you look at these ads online, like, who are you? Look, how many... I'm yet to see one, so I could be wrong. I'm pretty much wrong most of the time anyway. But if you go online right now, dig me out an ad from someone that's got a massive business in that area, someone who's running a phenomenal business, but they're running ads to sell you a Shopify scheme, right? Show me someone. Be like, Azam, this guy, his brand, don't you? He's like 300 million revenue, and he's online promoting ads, right?
I think the only people that you can really think of is like the ones on the higher end that have been doing it for years, like the Tony Robbins.
Yeah, and that's a different ball game.
Exactly.
And they're the guys that I'm saying to you, they have the credibility. Tony Robbins is a very rich man, right? So if you're going to learn from someone, look, if a guy's made $500 million, then trust me, he's worth listening to, right? But that's my point, and so again, it's about you really being clear on what it is you want to do, what it is you want to achieve. The more and more you invest time in understanding that your job is to serve other people, and I'll keep reiterating this, and your hard work is about serving other people, money will show up. I posted about it just yesterday. I had some quote on one of the pages that I shared. Money follows you. The more you do, the more value you add, the better the service you provide, the money will follow you. Let me ask you, what business have you found that tops Amazon in e-commerce?
No.
So why are they doing so well? Because no one does it better. It's simple. Yeah. You're providing the ultimate service, bro. I got addicted to Amazon. I just
Prime
like
as well next day.
Yeah, Prime. You got to understand, like there are people who will look and go, oh my God, it'd be great to be, that rich. And Jeff is wow. No man, look at what he's done for people. Look at this. Look at this ease of not losing time. Your package can show up on the same day. It's nuts, bro. But we got to look at it that way. How is he enhancing your life? Look at the product, the product availability under one, at the click of a finger. It's just amazing. So that's what we should be ultimately, looking at.
So let's kind of switch topics a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we've given people a lot of value, and for anyone that's got up to this point, continue watching because there's still a lot more to go. But one thing that you kind of show a lot on social media as well, and I think anyone following you knows this, is that you're a family man. And I think this is more of a personal question, but I'm sure other people will benefit from it too. You've got little ones. They're growing up quite fast now, mashallah. And you have achieved a level of success, whether you want to admit it or not. So how do you try to raise them? Because that's something that I've always wondered, is when you are successful, and because, you know, some of the traits that, you know, we have had growing up, and, you know, it's a big part of it is maybe because we haven't had access to money, or potentially our parents didn't come from money, or, you know, we had to do it ourselves, and that hunger came from within. So how do you try to raise them, knowing that, okay, you've tried to give them a better life, but you also don't want them to be spoiled?
Yeah, so look, bro, it's very simple. So we all have hopefully some sort of guideline, whether it's from internal, you know, if you're not someone of you know, a faith, and you don't follow a religion, or you don't have a guideline like that, you know, there's something within you that gives you principles to tell you this is right or wrong, or, you know, this is how I live my life. But in my case, you know, I follow the, you know, religion of Islam, and we're told that there are 3 things that are valuable to you post death. So we believe there'll be a life after death, and we are told that there's 3 things that you do on earth that will continue to add credits to your book, right? So you get a book of accounts on the Day of Judgment. 1 is the money you spend on providing services like mosques or other facilities that benefit the people to utilize and use for their recreational activity, their worship, etc. The second is knowledge, which we'll talk about. Maybe we have to do another podcast, but how phenomenal the medium of social media is. And by the way, just before I go any further, one thing you'll find about me is that I'm not, I understand how the teachings of Islam are literally a way of life that is anybody can resonate with and understand with, because it's just about being a good human being, right? It is literally just about being a good, honest, kind human being, right? And so knowledge, the knowledge that you leave behind for other people, and people implement that and benefit from, you get a bit of a kickback, a bit of a return, right? The final are your children, and that's the most weighty. And it all makes logical sense. Why? If you leave a load of shitbags on earth, the world's going to be a shitty place. But if you leave some nice human beings on earth that are considerate, caring for others, caring for the environment, honest, generous, whatever, then the world's a nicer place. It's pretty straightforward. I know that we're here for a short time, man. I'm 40 years old. It's just blink, bro. I'm 40, you know, and I still feel like I'm 20, but I'm not. So getting to the point, I know that my children are not only my biggest pleasure here, because they are. I don't know anything that I've never felt love, I've never felt emotion close to what my children have made me feel. So not only are they the most amazing thing that you get to experience on earth, your own offspring, stuff that's come from you, but they happen to coincidentally also be the impact and the legacy you leave in the world behind you, your imprint and your what you leave for the world to have to deal with when you're gone. And in the next life, they're also going to have a contribution to that. So getting to your point, my children are number 1 priority for me. So again, everyone's different. I balance my children. What we do, I don't believe is mine anyway, right? So we have a famous narration which says that everything over and above your requirements, you are simply a treasurer for someone else. A treasurer is like a banker, right? So I don't first and foremost believe that everything that comes into my possession, I'm just going to ball out. It's mine, it's not. Which doesn't mean that I can just go and send my kids nutty, go here, go there, go, you know, like Richie Rich, go and just, you know, go nuts. That neither is good for them or better for them. And actually, I'll tell you a very funny story. I was once in the gym and Zayn was hoovering, and somebody came up to me and he said, look, you know, with all due respect, bro, like I saw Zayn hoovering, and like normally when I meet people in your position, I don't know what he meant, but you know, normally when I meet people in your position, he goes that they say we work hard so our kids don't have to. I said, with all due respect, bro, whoever said that's stupid. Because the worst thing you can do is not teach your kids the value of hard work and install principles of kind of getting up and doing things for yourselves. And there may be a time when whatever you think you've left them runs out or isn't enough. And then what do they do, right? And so my children have been raised to be geared for real life and be geared for the world. And I dedicate my time, you know, as my kids have got older, instead of me going out with the lads as much, you know, or you know, I go out with Zayn. You might see we go to the fights together. He's into MMA. I go out on dates with my daughter. You know, they're my friends now. You know, they're older, man. They're, you know, my daughter's actually a teenager now, and you know, he's not far off now. So, they're everything for me. They're my happiness and my success, my real success in this life. Because really, bro, like in reality, what success do I have? If I'm a superstar myself, yet my own children, you know, thick and spoiled and useless and no good to anyone, no good to themselves, what have I achieved? Nothing, right? Because as human beings, when you take all the rest away, because ultimately, look, I'm a believer that whatever comes your way, you know, you may work hard, whatever, but I'll tell you this now, you can work as hard as you want, but if it's not meant to pass you, it won't, right? So if you take that out as basic human beings, these are the things that we have: family, children, our community, friends, peers, whatever. And so these are the major responsibilities that we have, right? And money and Forex courses and everything else, you know, we can't be distracted by these things. Money's just a means, and so it shouldn't steer you away. So what it should actually do is provide me with an opportunity to enhance my children in the best ways that I can, as opposed to neglect them or spoil them or delude them about what the world's really like. My children are not deluded in any way. They value money. They know what money's about. Zayn wanted one of these electric scooters recently, so he had to go through a 4-week process of earning it. You know, that's just how it goes, bro. It's just life. Like, what am I going to do? What's going to happen tomorrow if I die? What have I prepared him for? You know, the worst thing that could ever happen to me is that my children can't function and survive in the world, that they struggle because of my shortcomings, because I never attended to them, I never taught them, I never set an example. So I may have waffled on a bit, but
no, that's amazing.
That's the way it goes with my kids, man. They're your number one asset, your number one investment. You know, look, let me ask you a question. Very straightforward question. It's motivation for any young people getting married, about to have children, they've just had children, etc. Be very honest with me, right? Deep down, I'm not talking about that initial buzz.
Feeling the pressure already.
No, I'm not talking about that buzz reaction. You meet me, I show up, right, in a Rolls Royce, Bugatti, and you interact with my child for a bit. He's relatively grown up, let's say Zayn's age is 11, and he just looks thick. He's spoiled, he's rude, he's shouting, he doesn't know how to speak, he doesn't know how to behave. You can see clearly he's probably struggling, he probably has some mental health issues, etc. Or I show up in a normal car, Toyota. Just think of Toyota because Tesla have now overtook them as the biggest company. And I show up in a Toyota, but you meet my child, and my child is smart, inquisitive, polite, you know, attentive, well-mannered, whatever, you know. Which guy do you respect more? The Bugatti guy? Or what? In your heart of hearts, be honest, because I know most normal, civil, you know, educated, reasonable people wouldn't be wowed by the Bugatti, bro.
Potentially initially,
yeah.
When you see him pull up, you might think,
I'm talking about after the interaction.
After you've had
the whole interaction. You've just had those two interactions.
You've had the whole interaction, then of course the Toyota, because you're also thinking, wow, this guy has raised his children like this. And no matter what level of success he's achieved, his biggest success is his child, clearly. Yeah. You know, and how he's raised.
You would be more, so I'll contextualize it. You would be more impressed and you would feel better, because it's all about, as human beings, how people make us feel. Mm-hmm. You would feel better after the encounter with the humble, polite child than the child who whacked you a couple when he came in, whatever. You'd left him, well, you know, all right, got the Bugatti, but that wasn't nice.
You'll be talking about it after, like, well, look at that kid.
But whereas, so this is my point, like, you know, the most beautiful and attractive and the qualities that earn, you know, the highest level of human attention, and after you scrub it all away, right? Because we've got into this very hyper materialistic, you know, kind of society, but when you scratch it all away and you get down to what people really felt, they just feel good when people are good. Nice gestures, good manners, honesty, you know. And so this is where I think people should really realign their focus. Like, I'll be telling you straight, man, I respect people who are very close to their family members, close to their brothers, close to their parents, whatever. I admire people like that a lot more than some guy that's a cutthroat guy that, you know, has just made some money. You know, and I'll be honest with you, bro, it's just, even if you try to be mesmerized by what that person's got, something in you, if you're a normal person, will be like, that just doesn't feel right. You know, I didn't like that. I might be a bit gassed, but I didn't like that, you know? So, we're human, man. It's important for us to recognize and stay in tune with who we are. That's how you ultimately create business. Look, again, Forbes posted about it today. Some guy's quote about how the simplest problems and the simplest things are normally the biggest businesses, because you just get into like, what is it that humans really want? You know, and what do people really need? And the more you go away from that, all this behavior is unnatural, man. You know, filtering and faking and, like, you know, all that, it's just not natural. We're going further and further away from like our needs, like our
true being,
who we are, a true being, man. It's not what we are.
Mm-hmm. So you've obviously raised children of your own, and you've also started business at a very young age. Do you believe that being an entrepreneur is innate, or do you think, because right now it's very cool to be an entrepreneur, I'm sure you've seen that over the years, that maybe when you started it wasn't the cool thing to do. It was like, oh, you're starting a business, so why are you not becoming a doctor or a lawyer or something, right? And now it's like being in business is the cool thing, it's the exciting thing, because
it's a new rock star.
Yeah, because of obviously Silicon Valley and all the things that have come with it. It's cool to be an entrepreneur. So do you think that the characteristics you need to have are innate, or do you think that you can actually teach it over time and you can gain that at an older age?
Look, it's very important, as I said the whole way through, to be you, right? Whatever you lead you to be, whether it's operating a business, whether it's not operating a business, whether it's, you know, painting pictures or whatever it might be, it's very much about being you, right? So whenever you follow a trend, I'll give you an example. I grew up in the era where you should have become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, the typical, you know, South Asian careers. And I wasn't great at school. I wasn't academic. I didn't like studying. It's weird, I'm interested in studying now, and more so now, but then I was then, but it just wasn't for me. School wasn't for me, and I don't disagree with it. Like, I don't think school's geared for where we're going in the world. It's an olden system, and, you know, it's from the olden days, whatever. I won't get into that. But, you know, so it's about being genuine to who you are. If you're entrepreneurial and you feel you can build a business, because look, business isn't for everyone. And whenever I go and give talks and whenever I speak to people, I explain, look, business is not for everyone. You've got to be built a certain way, cut a certain way. You've got to have a passion. You've got to believe in what you're doing. You've got to really care about what you're doing, because it is going to be a hard road. It's why most businesses fail, man. So look, if you want to be an entrepreneur the same way you want to be rich, the same way you want to be an Instagrammer or an influencer or a bloody whatever, because of the fact that you know, need some sort of validation or some sort of attention or some sort of fulfillment or whatever, then you're just going to flop. But if something in you burns that much that you want to go out and achieve that thing, and that happens to be being, you know, running a business, then go for it. But don't jump on the fad, you know, that it's cool to be whatever. I couldn't care, you know, about being an entrepreneur. Like, when anyone asks me, Azam, what's your overall definition? I'm a servant to whoever, whether it's, you know, family, friends, peers, you, whatever. I'm here in on this planet to serve, right? So you can label what I do in business as he's an entrepreneur or whatever. The overarching responsibility I have is to serve people. That's it. So again, yes, it's great. It looks great if you're killing it. The probability is you're not going to kill it if you are not very, very clear about what you want to do, what you want to achieve, and it's in you, and it's something's driving you to make that happen. And when you lose money, and when you get things wrong, and when you fail and you fail and you fail, and you have to just keep going and keep going and keep going, that's got to come from somewhere. That's not going to come from your, you know, Instagram post. So, you know, so as I said, look, it may be cool, it may be on trend. Just make sure it's sincere, man. That's it. And you'll, you know, and have the courage to go at something that you really believe in, and be smart, connect with the right people. The way you shortcut success or getting to wherever you want to be in anything is you either very quickly learn, or you go and find someone who has that knowledge and you get it from them. But I don't see that. But I'll give you a prime example. Young people will contact me for advice and give me advice. Do you get my point? You're doing all the talking. You're giving me, you just read 5 books out to me. You don't need me. Just carry on reading. Do you get my point? If you come to me for advice, then your responsibility is to extract that knowledge you need, not tell me how amazing you are, what you did, how many, things you're going to do and what you read in this book and that book. Do you get my point? Your job is to, look, man, one key thing I'll explain to the youth, and it's not that I know everything, I've had to go through the process I've learned. Let me ask you a question. Mouth, ears, how many have you got of each?
1 mouth, 2 ears.
Okay. Does the ear have a natural closing mechanism? Can you shut your ear off?
No.
Right. Can you close your mouth?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then apply
We're made
that.
to listen.
We're built to listen. Your success is through listening, right? The more you listen, you'll take in and you'll become very, very smart. I posted about this the other day. Allow certain voices into your ear. The more you become specialized in listening, the more you become aware of what is worth listening to and what isn't. The problem is when you don't listen, you don't understand what you're listening to. You don't understand the frequency. So then you listen to more nonsense and you listen to more nonsense. And that nonsense goes in and influences your actions. So listening is an art. And it's an art that you're able to then do 2 things. You're able to listen to yourself because you stop this. So it allows you a moment to listen to yourself, and then you become an expert in listening to what you should be listening to externally. And so that's it. That's why they say, man, a smart person, as a person becomes wiser and smarter, they talk less. You'll read that quote from 100 people.
This podcast could just keep going, I think we're definitely going to have a part 2. If you want to see that, let us know. But before we end it anyway, I think one of the most valuable episodes we've ever done, definitely. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but I was going to say the best. But you've obviously spoken a lot about success and obviously a lot of tips throughout the podcast about what people should do, and especially young entrepreneurs. But you mentioned earlier in the podcast that you obviously had your own hardships along the way, and you probably failed more than you succeeded.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I personally am a firm believer of the lessons are in the failure, not the success. So I'm sure over the years there's been many, but off the top of your head, for people, to give people context, because they've obviously listened to this podcast up until this point, but knowing that it hasn't been easy all the time, what's some of the biggest hardships that you can actually remember off the top of your head, and how did you actually persevere and conquer in the end?
Look, so the hardships come, in different forms, right? So look, there'll be times where you've not understood the financial investment required for a project, and you run into financial problems, right? So you end up at a point where you're like, geez, I've run out of money. So there can be financial, there can be emotional. I've been unhealthy. I've got really ill at times by overworking myself. So you're going to find challenges that come across a variety of spectrums. But what I'd like to talk about more than the challenges, because there isn't anything that I can say, oh my God, this happened, because I'll tell you why. Because I've never seen anything as being that catastrophic, right? I've never looked at anything and gone, oh my God, like that was the end of the world. And I'll explain why. I'm a firm believer, bro, that everything happens for the best. And as long as you are on that mission to get the job done, you'll find a way to get the job done. So anything, you run out of money. All right, well, bootstrap. Do the shift at night that you can't employ the guy to do anymore, right? Or whatever it might be, right? Anything that you've done wrong, you just have to very quickly identify what it is you were doing wrong and make the changes necessary to move forward. So I can't really say that, there's anything that happened that was bad, right? I've done a lot of things wrong. I should have gone out and got the right expertise. I shouldn't have been doing certain things a certain way. I should have spent more time planning. I should have invested more time in preparation. There was a long list of things. I shouldn't have trusted certain people. Whatever, right? But I learned from those things. So there wasn't anything because I'm not that guy like that. Oh, I got knocked down. I didn't get knocked down. I got taught, so I didn't get destroyed. I'm here, so that's the whole point. If something didn't work, look, I'll tell you an amazing story. We basically launched some food products that went into the supermarkets. You might remember the brands, right? Now, I was so driven at that time, and imagine this was only 5-6 years ago, by the way, so it's not even that long ago. I was so driven at the time by providing value for a market that I felt was lagging, right? That Azam style, typical Azam style, even from that era, it's probably coming to the end of the era of the way that I was doing things at that time. So, 5-6 years ago, where I would, bulldoze. I'm not somebody that spends heavy on lifestyle. I believe in, it's not mine anyway, but I'm happy to invest and I'm happy to try things. And in the past, in years in the past, I hadn't done as much due diligence, as much planning, as much preparing. Obviously, I would probably do a lot more than most naturally because I'd run businesses for that long, but, maybe not enough so. I was so passionate about delivering these amazing, healthy, halal food options that when you went to the supermarket, you just got curry, right? And we have different diets, we have different food palettes now. We want to eat different things. We want to go and have a bit of jerk chicken, a bit of Italian meatballs, whatever, right? So I just got obsessed with this idea. Bought a factory in Leeds, started manufacturing. Everyone's like, Azam, it's going to take 2 years to get your food in the supermarkets. My food was on the shelves in 3 months. I literally blitzed the whole thing. What I didn't look at was the reality of a couple of key areas. One was the truth about, which nobody actually knew, by the way. So there's a lot of people who were in the halal food space or halal market that had been maybe sold this dream that there's this many Muslims and there's this much market opportunity. And the reality is, we're all sat here dressed exactly the same. Muslims don't do things that different. Yeah, they are mainstream consumers just like everyone else. Have a few little things that we might do a bit different. Might eat a date in Ramadan or whatever, but otherwise it's it's pretty much the same. And the other thing is the coverage, the store coverage. So the business itself, you just couldn't scale it the way you could scale being Innocent Smoothie, right? Because Innocents could be put in every single store, whereas these had world food stores and then they'd limit in a certain amount of food stores. So anyway, it became apparent to me that, look, it's going to be quite difficult to scale this business, because there's so many limitations and there's so much time involved in them opening up new stores and whatever. And anyway, we ended up doing a deal with another provider because there just wasn't enough room in the market or whatever. But the long and short of it is, in that process where I dived in and I was like, shit, I put 7 figures in this business. And I'm like, Azzy, you've done it again, Rambo. And, but this is the funny story, right? Not only did in that process I extract a huge amount of experience, manufacturing, new type of consumer branding, understanding the halal consumer, understanding the food market, a whole bunch of knowledge that is invaluable. There aren't many people who can say we've put products on supermarket shelves. I put 2 brands on supermarket shelves. But that business didn't end up making me a ton of money, right? What did though, in the whole process was, and I'm just explaining how the world works and how things work. What did was though is, at the time when I was trying to find an agency in the UK to do my branding, I was getting quotes for like 50 grand, 100 grand to do some packaging. I was like, how many flipping samosas do I have to sell to cover cover that packaging, right? So I ended up finding an agency, doing my research, looking around, finding an agency in Portugal. That's a company called We Know You, a business that I ended up investing in and growing. And now we have this phenomenal company based out in Lisbon that does 2 things. One is we work on global brands. So we have clients like Nokia, banks, massive companies that we work with, that we provide a very new and holistic service that most agencies are pretty limited in what they can to provide. But when you've got true business experience behind you, you can, when you build a website, you build it with the knowledge of how a website delivers customers and whatever, as opposed to just being there you go, there's your 50 grand website. We also do, manage our own internal projects, and we invest in startups, specifically in the tech and areas that we understand. But actually what happened was I went on this journey to build these food brands, ended up not being the best of opportunities in that space, but in that journey found another opportunity that grew out in itself, right? So the key principle within this is having that understanding in 2 aspects. One is, wherever you can add value and wherever the opportunity is, you got to jump on that and go in that direction. And it happened to be that this was where the actual real opportunity was, where we would grow, and be able to accept that you don't always get it right, and be able to accept that you will embark on things and it may not go exactly the way you planned, but you take the lessons and the experiences and you shift and try and make the most of whatever you can, right? So at the time we had this small agency, a couple of people that were doing work for us and doing whatever. And we said, well, we've got to get something out of this entire thing we've just done. We spent years on investing in branding, investing in building a bit of a team, building whatever. So you've just got to have that mentality and mindset. But that is something that comes from people that have a genuine passion of adding value and doing things, as opposed to being obsessed. A lot of people want to own a business. They want to be a brand owner. They want to just be an entrepreneur. They want the label that goes with it. So the minute it doesn't happen, they flatten their face. But we turned a project, through a project, another project came, that project could never have made any of the impact that we're making, that this one is.
Most likely it would have never happened if you didn't have that business.
It wouldn't have happened. So it's mindset. If I was fixated that I must have this, and I've seen it. I've seen people blow money. I've seen people blow other people's money because of this obsession with themselves. They get limelight from this job, or they need it, or it's their thing, it's their baby, it's their attachment. Look, if something doesn't happen, if the market's not ready for it, if you're early, if it's, we probably were a little bit early as well in a few people's opinions. But as I said, you've got to be able to keep moving, because if your objective is adding value, you find where you can add the value. And that's what we've done. So when we work with companies, or when we have built our own businesses and done what we've done, we've just found new ways to add value, new ways to keep helping people, keep improving things, and not get fixed on the idea that something didn't go exactly the way you want. You've got to be thick-skinned in business. It's war, so as I said, you and I were discussing something previously. We've got to have this ability to find opportunity. Look, what can we do better, right? Okay, we went down this road, fine. Where do we go next? And that's how it's got to be.
Wow, I'm literally speechless. I think so much value from this episode. That really, honestly, guys, like, make sure you listen to it from start to finish. And even if you've listened to it once, go back and listen to it again, because I'm going to do the same, definitely. For anyone that is inspired by you, they've never heard about you before, what's the best way that they can actually follow you? Because I personally get a lot of motivation on a daily basis just by your stories, just by current events and things that you're talking about. So for anyone that wants to follow your journey, what's the best way they can follow you?
At the moment, it's Instagram. So I invest most of my time just sharing what I can, day-to-day thoughts on Instagram. It's funny, somebody contacted me the other day and said, do you have somebody social media team managing your Instagram, and do you get your content planned in advance? And look, I post content there and then. I'll have been through something, I'm feeling something, I'll have had an experience in some way, shape or form or whatever, and I'll just share day to day. It's me sharing my story. I don't post myself too much because I just don't like to detach from the message. But ultimately, that's what I'm doing on a daily basis. I am intending to do a bit more and just be a bit more active, because I feel there's a need for it. I feel that, if people can benefit in some way, shape or form, if I can help one person, then great. So I intend to do a bit more, but I primarily use Instagram as being I think it's just a great, easy to use platform to, you can share content, podcast, you can share video, you can share whatever. So just my Instagram's the best.
What's the Instagram?
It's Azam Jaafri.
Perfect. Guys, make sure you go follow and let him know that you come from Recipe to Success. Thank you, Azam, for coming on the podcast. I definitely want to have you on again at some point. Sure. Maybe once this is all over, once things go back to normal, we can see how Graftism evolved from this point. I think that would be quite interesting. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you subscribe, comment, like on YouTube, and follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.